Hello, I'm Robin. Welcome to Bookspin. Recently, I picked up a bunch of Philip José Farmer books that I'd like to share with you today. So I've got 10 vintage paperbacks here. These are all books which I'm happy to add to my growing Philip José Farmer collection, and I'm very much looking forward to reading. Farmer being, of course, one of my favourite classic sci-fi authors, although there's still loads of his stuff which I haven't read. He was a very prolific author. Okay, so these 10 books I purchased through various online sellers, mostly through eBay. I did have to import a couple from the US because there just weren't any editions available here. So let's take a look. The first 7 books comprise a series known as The World of Tears, which is a kind of sci-fi / science fantasy series. So it's a 7-book series, so it's a heptalogy, and it was published over quite a long period. The first book came out in 1965, and the final book was published in 1993. So I've of the series that I've read so far by Farmer, I've had a great time. Okay, I loved the Riverworld series. It's one of my all-time favourite series. And I really enjoyed the Dayworld series, which I read earlier this year. Not quite as much as Riverworld, but it was still a great read. So this is going to be my next big Philip José Farmer series to read. Perhaps even my next series. Let's take a look. The first book is called The Maker of Universes. This book came out originally in 1965. I quite like this edition. This is this is the Sphere paperback, which was originally published in 1970. Reprinted 75. Okay. The artist, by the way, is Peter Goodfellow. I quite like his style. Lovely wraparound cover. So this is book 1, Maker of Universes. And just to give you an idea of what this series is about, I'll read the blurb. I'll only read the blurb on the first book. Okay. When Robert Wolfe found a strange horn in an empty house, he held the key to a different universe. To blow that horn would open up a door through space-time and permit entry to a cosmos whose dimensions and laws were not those known by our starry galaxy. For that other universe was a place of tears, world upon world piled upon each other like the landings of a sky-piercing mountain. The one to blow that horn would ascend those steps, from creation to creation, until he would come face to face with the being whose brainchild it was. But what if that maker of universes was a madman, or an imposter, or a supercriminal hiding from the wrath of his own superiors? And interestingly here it says, Maker of Universes is the first volume in the World of Tears trilogy. So obviously it expanded way beyond Farmer's original vision as a trilogy. But in any case, I do like that cover art, and the first 4 books in this series that I own anyway are all Sphere paperbacks, all with cover art by Peter Goodfellow. So I'll show you the remaining books. Book 2 is called The Gates of Creation. And there it is. Wraparound cover. Book 3 is called A Private Cosmos, and this might be my personal favourite of the cover illustrations. This one features an introduction by Roger Zelazny as a nice bonus. I think I've heard it said that this series was actually a major inspiration for Zelazny, especially on his 9 Princes in Amber series. So that's book 3, A Private Cosmos. And then we have book 4, which is called Behind the Walls of Terror. Okay. So those are the first 4 books, which all feature cover art by Peter Goodfellow. And then we move on to book 5, which is called The Lava Light World. It's a different illustrator this time. I'm not sure who it is. I didn't make a note. But again, I do quite like this cover art. Again, it's a wraparound cover. So that is The Lava Light World. And then we move on to this book, which is book 6. This one was published a bit later. This was 1991, and it's called Red Orc's Rage. So that's that one. And the final book, book 7, which came out in 93, More Than Fire. This one, unlike the rest of the editions I have, this is an American import. Apparently this never got a British release. So we've got this kind of... I'm not so keen on the illustration style in this one. It just makes me think of an 80s action movie or something. But there you go. That completes the whole series. So I look forward to starting that at some point soon. But in addition to The World of Tears, I also picked up 3 other Farmer books. This one is called The Alley God. Okay, a nice dramatic cover on the front, and this contains 3 novellas which Farmer wrote early on in his career. I think they're all from the 50s. Let's have a look inside. Yeah, 54, 59, 53. This one does look quite interesting, and there's a good chance I will read this one later this year, because I'm planning to do something for November, Novella November, where I read a bunch of novellas. And this is a 3 novella collection. So I think it's worth reading the blurb on this one. Philip José Farmer demonstrates in these 3 short novels the ability that has made him one of America's best-selling science fiction authors. He succeeds with remarkable skill in blending excitement and humour with sheer imagination in this splendid demonstration of his talent. The first story is called The Alley Man, the last living Neanderthal man, grubbing out a living from the garbage heaps that cover the earth. Okay. Story 2. The Captain's Daughter. Unknown illness strikes aboard a spaceship, and the ship's doctor discovers a strange parasite that lives on sexual excitement. And the third story is called The God Business. Things go wrong in a modern Olympus, and the US Marines find themselves defeated by nudists with water pistols and a strange super baby. That sounds pretty weird, even by Philip José Farmer standards. And then I picked up a novel called Time's Last Gift, which is a time travel novel. Okay, I don't think I've read any time travel stories, or at least time travel novels by Philip José Farmer before. I think I've read short stories on this theme. But sounds like a good combination to me. Farmer and time travel. I'm a little bit disappointed because this is not the cover I was expecting. When I ordered this book, it had a different cover illustration, a stock photo, and this is not the edition I received. But whatever. Let's have a quick read of the blurb. 12,000 BC. They were 4 trained scientists, each of them skilled in several disciplines, because this was an opportunity that would never occur again. There would never be another chance for men from the world of 2070 AD to examine in person the world of 12,000 BC. What they learned and taped would be the only record ever made of this dim, enigmatic period of prehistory. But absolutely no one in the world of 2070 or in the borrowed time of 12,000 BC could have imagined what the tapes would reveal. A superb novel of adventure and intrigue in a vanished era. Okay, so that could be interesting. And finally, one more book. This is an interesting one. This one is called Nothing Burns in Hell. So, this is actually not science fiction at all. This is a detective mystery novel. It's a very rare example of a non-SF book by Farmer. For all I know, it might be his only non-SF book. It's also one of his last published novels. This came out in 1998. Again, this is another US import. It's not available in the UK. So, yeah, this is quite interesting. It's got a quote from Norman Spinrad on the cover saying, "A kind of American magic realist detective novel about Peoria." And it's got some interesting reviews on the back. So, this one says, "I can only think of one book, Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, that I read faster. Nothing Burns in Hell is pulp fiction at its finest, with a cast of memorable, dastardly and divine characters now indelibly etched in my brain." That's from Peoria Times Observer. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting, I think. I definitely want to read this at some point. And that completes this book haul. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts are. And I'll see you again soon.